The diplomatic station floated silently above the neutral planet, a massive structure of shining metal and glass. Ships from countless alien races were docked in neat rows, each one unique in design and color. Humans were a rare sight here, and most of the aliens watched them with quiet suspicion. Today the station was unusually busy. An important assembly was about to begin, one that could decide the balance of power in this region of space. The human delegation stood near the main entrance, their uniforms crisp but unfamiliar to most alien eyes. Commander Jason Hart, a tall man with careful manners, looked around at his team. His heart thumped in his chest, not from fear but from the tension of expectation. He had studied alien protocols for years, but he knew nothing could fully prepare humans for first contact with a race so sophisticated and unpredictable. Then she arrived. No one noticed her at first, as though the room itself had waited for her to appear. A soft ripple of sound, barely more than a whisper, passed through the assembly hall. Heads turned, eyes widened. The aliens who had considered themselves powerful leaders paused mid-step. She was tall, graceful, and her skin shimmered faintly under the bright lights. Her eyes, large and intelligent, scanned the room with calm certainty. The ceremonial garment she wore flowed around her, long and elegant, embroidered with patterns that seemed to tell a story in a language no one could read. But it was not the garment that held attention. It was the way she carried herself, with quiet authority that demanded recognition without demanding submission. Jason and his team held their breath. Even among seasoned diplomats, her presence was electrifying. One of the alien delegates muttered under its breath, a sound that could have been a warning or a question. Others simply stared. Then slowly, deliberately, she approached the center of the room. The assembly fell silent. She reached the human delegation and paused. In a gesture that seemed to say more than any words could, she removed her ceremonial cloak, folding it with care. It was a symbolic act in her culture, a shedding of formalities, a sign that what mattered was action, not ritual. Jason could hardly believe it. The room was charged with anticipation. She looked directly at him, her eyes steady and clear. "Move over," she whispered, her voice soft yet commanding. It was not a threat. It was an invitation. For a moment no one spoke. Humans had been taught to respect authority, but here was an alien telling them, in effect, that they had a place at the center. The delegation glanced at each other. The words carried weight. Jason stepped forward, nodding subtly to his team. "Perhaps it is time," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The ambassador's presence shifted the energy in the room. Aliens who had sneered at humans before now observed them with a mixture of curiosity and caution. The whispers of jealousy and suspicion rose quietly around the hall, but Jason focused only on the task at hand. He felt the ambassador's eyes on him, as if she could see past the surface into the abilities that humans often doubted themselves to have. Minutes passed. Then slowly the humans began to speak. First a proposal, a small suggestion about resource allocation in a nearby system. The aliens listened, at first politely, but then with a growing sense of disbelief. The idea was simple but clever. It solved a problem that had confounded more experienced races for decades. The ambassador smiled faintly, a hint of pride in her expression. Jason caught it and felt a surge of confidence. She had chosen humans for a reason, and this was the first test. She had given them the chance to step into the spotlight. As the discussion continued, other humans began to contribute. Each idea was met with more surprise than the last. The aliens who had assumed they were the smartest in the room were forced to reconsider. The human delegation moved with quiet confidence, aided by the subtle guidance of their mysterious ally. Outside the main hall, the station's corridors were filled with murmurs. News of the stranger had spread. Aliens stopped to discuss her arrival, each interpretation more speculative than the last. Some were fascinated by her choice to remove the ceremonial garment. Others were offended by what they perceived as a breach of tradition, but all agreed on one thing. She had chosen humans for a reason, and that reason was clear to anyone willing to pay attention. Back in the hall, the ambassador guided the humans with gestures so small they were almost imperceptible. She did not speak, yet her presence was enough to steer conversations, highlight critical points in calm moments of tension. Humans had been cautious negotiators before, but now they began to realize that their natural creativity, often dismissed by aliens, was exactly what the assembly needed. Hours passed. The aliens were forced to acknowledge that the human proposals were not only practical, but innovative. Arguments that had lasted for cycles of time were resolved in minutes. The ambassador had allowed humans to rise not by giving them power, but by encouraging them to recognize the power they already possessed. Jason looked at his team and saw the same mixture of awe and relief that he felt. They had entered the room as outsiders, barely noticed, and now they were central to every discussion. He stole a glance at the ambassador. She gave a slight nod, barely noticeable, but it carried a world of meaning. By the time the assembly adjourned for the first break, whispers of the humans' capabilities had reached every corner of the station. Other delegations were already plotting how to counter them. But it was clear that humans had earned respect in a way that no one had expected. Jason stepped out into the open observation deck, taking a deep breath of the filtered air. The neutral planet stretched below, vast and mysterious. His mind raced with thoughts of what was to come. This ambassador had chosen humans for a reason, and that reason was no small task. The galaxy was watching, and humans had to rise to meet the challenge. Behind him, the ambassador approached quietly. Her presence was no longer intimidating. It was reassuring. She looked at Jason with an expression that blended respect and encouragement. "You have potential," she said softly, almost to herself. "Do not waste it." Jason felt a strange warmth at her words. It was not just a compliment. It was a promise of what humanity could achieve if they dared to take the place the galaxy had made available to them. The rest of the human delegation gathered around him, faces alight with excitement and nervous energy. They had stepped into the center of a room full of powerful aliens and survived. More than survived, they had impressed. The ambassador turned to leave, moving through the crowd with the same quiet authority that had marked her entrance. Humans had learned something invaluable today. Courage, creativity, and self-belief could win respect even among those who had never seen them as equals. Jason watched her go, silently promising that humanity would not squander this opportunity. Somewhere, in the depths of space, the galaxy had begun to notice humans in a way that would change everything. For the first time in a long while, Jason felt hope, not the small hope of survival, but the bright, blazing hope of possibility. The ambassador had shown them the way, and now humans were ready to walk it. As the observation deck doors closed behind her, Jason whispered to his team, "She walked in. And she chose us. It's time we proved why we deserve this place." The stars outside glittered like diamonds, infinite and full of secrets. Humanity had just taken its first step toward becoming a force that could shape the galaxy, and the adventure had only just begun. The hum of the diplomatic station never stopped. Even in the quiet hours, machines moved, lights flickered, and monitors glowed with data from every corner of the galaxy. Inside the assembly hall, the air was thick with tension. Aliens of all shapes and sizes whispered among themselves. Humans had made a bold entrance yesterday, guided by the mysterious ambassador. Now the consequences of their sudden prominence were beginning to take shape. Commander Jason Hart and his delegation gathered around a long table. The humans were still absorbing the shock of the previous day, the way the ambassador had chosen them, the way she had guided them, and the way the other species had reacted. For the first time, humans were not just participants. They were being watched, measured, and tested by every alien race in the room. "Today will not be easy," Jason said quietly, his voice steady but serious. "They are not used to humans in the spotlight. Some will respect us, but others will try to undermine us. We need to stay focused." Lieutenant Mira Chen, the youngest member of the team, nodded. "We can do this, Commander. Yesterday proved that. We just have to keep thinking clearly." Their first session began with a routine negotiation over resource distribution in a contested system. Humans had already suggested solutions that had surprised the aliens. Today, those ideas had set expectations. Some alien delegations arrived with skepticism. Others brought outright hostility. The ambassador entered silently, her presence as commanding as ever. She did not speak at first. She simply observed, standing slightly behind the humans. Her eyes moved over the assembly, flicking to each human team member as if giving subtle guidance without saying a word. The head of the Zalaran delegation, a large multi-limbed alien with a sharp, angular face, sneered. "Humans, your suggestions yesterday were unexpected. But do you truly understand the complexities of interstellar resource trade? Jason straightened in his chair. We understand the goal. We approach the problem differently, yes. But different does not mean wrong. The Zalaran's eyes narrowed. Different can be dangerous. You are untested. A ripple of murmurs ran through the room. Other alien delegations glanced at the humans, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. Humans were far from the most experienced race present, yet they had shown yesterday that they could think in ways that no other species did. The ambassador stepped forward, calm and deliberate. She addressed the assembly in her own language, but her tone carried weight. A translator immediately rendered her words into the alien common tongue. Different is not wrong. Different is potential. Watch and learn. The hall fell silent. Even the most arrogant delegates paused. The ambassador had not only defended the humans, but had reminded everyone that progress often came from the unexpected. The humans began their presentation. Using holographic displays, they mapped out resource flows, trade routes, and potential conflicts. But it wasn't just numbers. They suggested solutions that considered diplomacy, ecology, and long-term stability. Their ideas were simple, but they worked in ways the aliens had never imagined. A group of senior delegates from the Morvani Council whispered among themselves. Humans, they might actually succeed, one said, though their voice was tinged with disbelief. Hours passed. The humans faced constant challenges, questions, doubts, and thinly veiled attempts to discredit them. Each time the ambassador guided them with a look or a subtle gesture, reminding them to stay calm, think creatively, and trust their instincts. Lieutenant Chen pointed to a projection. If we reroute these supplies through the smaller systems, we can prevent overloading the main stations. It also avoids conflicts over high-demand planets. Jason nodded. Good. Explain the benefits for each council. Chen's explanation was clear, logical, and diplomatic. For a moment, the Zalaran's skepticism faltered. The Morvani delegates leaned forward, visibly impressed. Even some of the previously hostile aliens whispered to each other, recognizing that humans were not simply lucky. They were clever, adaptable, and willing to take risks others would not. But with success came jealousy. A delegation from the Valari, known for their strict hierarchy and pride, leaned toward each other. They are overstepping, one hissed. We cannot allow humans to dominate discussions. The ambassador, sensing the tension, stepped slightly closer to the humans. Jason caught the movement and felt renewed confidence. She did not need to speak. Her presence alone reminded the humans that they were chosen for their abilities, not their reputation. The debate escalated. The Valari demanded a vote on whether humans should continue to have speaking priority. Other delegations murmured, unsure of how to respond. The ambassador finally spoke, her voice firm yet calm. Vote not on who speaks, but on who solves. Let actions, not prejudice, decide worth. Her words resonated. The room grew quiet, and slowly the vote passed. Humans retained their voice in the assembly. The lesson was clear. Cleverness, courage, and cooperation mattered more than prejudice and tradition. After the vote, the humans continued. They suggested a new approach for sharing knowledge between species, one that used technology to bridge cultural differences and avoid conflicts. Their ideas were practical but also imaginative, a combination few aliens had considered. By midday, aliens who had once doubted them now nodded in agreement. The ambassador, standing just behind Jason, allowed herself the faintest smile. Her choice had been right. Humans were proving themselves in ways even she had not fully expected. During a short break, Jason and his team stepped onto a balcony overlooking the planet below. Its blue oceans and green continents stretched endlessly, a reminder of home. Humans had come far from Earth to this distant station, and yet here they were, being tested by the galaxy itself. Mira Chen leaned on the railing. It's overwhelming, but I feel like we're finally being seen for what we can do. Jason put a hand on her shoulder. Exactly. We've been underestimated for so long. That's our advantage. They expect us to fail, and yet here we are, changing the conversation. Suddenly, a holographic alert flashed. Reports of an approaching fleet appeared in the sky above the planet. An unknown group, large and heavily armed, had been detected moving rapidly toward the station. The assembly fell into murmurs of alarm. Humans, who were already proving themselves intellectually, now faced a potential physical threat. The ambassador observed the situation calmly. She did not panic. She turned to Jason and spoke in a low voice. This is the real test. Not ideas, not negotiations, but action. Can humans rise when the danger is real? Jason swallowed hard. We have to. We have no choice. As the fleet drew nearer, the aliens panicked, unsure how to respond. Security forces mobilized and alarms echoed through the station. Humans, guided subtly by the ambassador, began analyzing the fleet's patterns and potential weaknesses. They suggested defensive positions and strategies that no other species had considered. Their approach was unconventional, yes, but it was effective. The ambassador stepped aside, allowing humans to take the lead. Her earlier whisper, "Move over," now felt literal. She had given them the chance to prove themselves again, this time in the face of imminent danger. By late afternoon, humans had convinced the assembly to adopt their defensive plan. Every move they suggested was calculated, innovative, and practical. The other aliens watched, some in awe, others in reluctant admiration. As the sun set on the neutral planet below, the humans prepared for the arrival of the unknown fleet. They were nervous, yes, but also confident. They had survived the assembly's scrutiny, proven their intelligence, and now had the opportunity to show courage under pressure. Jason looked at the ambassador one last time before the meeting ended. Her eyes held a quiet approval. "You see now," she said softly, "why I chose you. The galaxy does not reward fear. It rewards those who dare." Humans had stepped forward, embraced the challenge, and were beginning to shine in ways no alien had predicted. The station's lights reflected off the distant stars, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of opportunities for those brave enough to reach for them. For the humans, this was only the beginning. The challenge ahead was real, but they had already proven that with courage, creativity, and guidance, even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome. Jason took a deep breath. "Tomorrow," he said, "we show them what humanity can really do." And the ambassador, silent now, merely nodded, letting her presence continue to guide them. Humanity had entered the galaxy as observers. Now they were beginning to take the lead. The diplomatic station had quieted after the tense day of negotiations. Outside, the neutral planet's surface glowed faintly in the evening light, a calm contrast to the tension inside. Humans gathered in a small conference room, still processing the events of the last 2 days. Their confidence had grown, but questions lingered. Why had the mysterious ambassador singled them out? And what challenge was still waiting for them? The ambassador entered without ceremony, her movements as precise and elegant as ever. She did not carry the ceremonial garment this time, nor did she bow or make formal gestures. Her presence alone commanded attention. She looked at Jason and his team and spoke in a soft, deliberate tone, one that made them lean forward in instinctive respect. "You have impressed many," she said, "but understanding and skill alone will not be enough. You must face a test that goes beyond negotiation. A threat approaches, one that could affect countless systems. The Assembly does not understand the danger. They will hesitate. They do not see as you do." Jason leaned forward. "What kind of threat?" he asked. His voice was calm, but his mind raced. Humans had proved themselves in the Assembly, but now it seemed there was something far greater ahead. The ambassador's eyes flicked toward a holographic display. Stars and ships appeared, moving in calculated formation. This fleet is unknown to most. Their purpose is conquest. Their method is swift and decisive. They will strike systems they consider weak. Many of the Assembly members are unprepared. You, however, have qualities they do not: adaptability, creativity, and courage under uncertainty. Lieutenant Mira Chen studied the display, noting the patterns of movement. "They're fast," she said, "and highly coordinated, but I see gaps, small spaces between their formations." Jason nodded. "Exactly. That is where we can make a difference. We need a strategy that uses those gaps, not brute force. They will not expect unconventional tactics from humans." The ambassador smiled faintly. "Yes, and that is why I chose you. You can think differently. Other species are bound by protocol, pride, or fear. You are not. Your minds are not limited by centuries of tradition." The humans worked late into the evening, analyzing every detail of the approaching fleet. They considered possibilities that no other species had even imagined: routes the enemy might avoid, supply lines that could be disrupted, and communication patterns that could be intercepted. Every suggestion was discussed, tested, and refined. Jason turned to Mira. "We need to show the assembly that our ideas are practical, not just clever. If they doubt us, they will delay action, and that could cost lives." Mira nodded. "We have to make them see what we see. That's our advantage. They cannot think like we do." The next morning, the human delegation returned to the assembly hall, where murmurs of concern had begun to rise. Delegates had received reports of the approaching fleet, and panic was spreading. Some species were calling for immediate defensive action. Others insisted on waiting for more information. The delay could prove disastrous. Jason stepped forward, guided by the ambassador's subtle gestures. He projected the fleet's movements across the hall and highlighted the weaknesses humans had identified. His voice was firm, commanding attention. "This is not a time for hesitation. We have studied the fleet. We know their patterns. There is a way to protect the systems efficiently, but it requires swift, coordinated action. If we act quickly, we can minimize damage and prevent unnecessary loss." The aliens murmured among themselves. Some were impressed. Others were skeptical. But the ambassador's presence behind Jason reminded the room that the humans had been right before, and that their ideas were worth listening to. A Valari delegate, known for their strict adherence to protocol, spoke sharply. "You are inexperienced. This is a fleet we do not understand fully. How can we trust your calculations?" Jason did not flinch. "We understand that our methods are unconventional, but speed and adaptability are our strengths. If you allow fear to delay action, the consequences will be far worse than any mistake we might make." The ambassador stepped closer to Jason, her voice audible to the assembly. "Judgment is not measured by fear. It is measured by insight and action. Humans see clearly what others ignore. Let them act." The hall fell silent. Slowly, delegates began to nod, recognizing the truth in her words. The vote to implement the human strategy passed, though not without grumbles from some factions. It was a small victory, but a critical one. Humanity was now responsible for guiding the assembly's defensive measures. Jason and his team immediately began coordinating efforts. They divided responsibilities, assigning each human a sector of the station or fleet to oversee. They worked alongside alien engineers, pilots, and strategists, carefully blending human intuition with alien technology. Every move was calculated, every instruction clear. Mira examined the fleet's formation once more. "They are fast, but they rely on predictable communications. If we intercept and redirect their signals, we can force gaps in their formation and create opportunities for counteraction." Jason nodded. "Exactly. That is where humans excel. Where others see chaos, we see patterns. Use your scanners to implement the interception plan. I'll coordinate with the assembly's defense teams to exploit the gaps." Hours passed in tense coordination. The alien delegations watched, some grudgingly, as humans took the lead. It was unusual, even uncomfortable for them to follow the guidance of a species they had long underestimated. But the evidence of the human strategy's effectiveness became impossible to ignore. Outside, the fleet drew closer, and the first signs of engagement appeared on monitors. Missiles, drones, and reconnaissance probes moved rapidly toward the station. Humans and alien teams worked together, implementing the plan step by step. Every action was precise, every adjustment careful. When the first wave of the enemy fleet entered the calculated gaps, humans initiated maneuvers that other species had not anticipated. Drones moved in unpredictable patterns, decoy ships drew fire, and energy fields redirected attacks. Each decision was small, but together they created a defense stronger than any protocol-bound strategy could achieve. The ambassador observed quietly, her expression calm but satisfied. Jason glanced at her once, understanding her silent praise. They were proving themselves not only in strategy but in leadership, coordination, and adaptability. As the engagement continued, alien delegations began to communicate more openly with humans, asking questions and offering suggestions. Humans welcomed their input but retained control, ensuring that the plan stayed coherent. Slowly, the tide of the battle began to turn. By the end of the day, the unknown fleet had retreated, damaged and confused by the human-led strategy. The station remained intact, systems were preserved, and countless lives were saved. Delegates who had doubted humanity now looked at them with respect and admiration. Jason finally allowed himself to relax, leaning back in his chair. "We did it," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "We actually did it." Mira smiled, though exhaustion was clear on her face. "We did it together, and we couldn't have done it without her." She nodded toward the ambassador, who remained standing behind them, serene and composed. The ambassador stepped forward, her presence commanding attention once more. She addressed the assembly, her voice carrying a tone of authority that silenced all whispers. "Observe what humans can achieve when trusted with responsibility. Observe what courage, creativity, and action can do. Do not underestimate them again." The room remained silent, filled with a mixture of awe and newfound respect. For the first time, many species recognized that humans were not merely observers in the galaxy. They were innovators, problem solvers, and capable leaders. Later, as the humans regrouped in their quarters, Jason turned to Mira and the rest of the team. "We've shown them what we can do. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and challenges will come faster and stronger than anything we have faced." The ambassador, standing in the doorway, finally spoke to them privately. "You have proven yourselves capable of thinking beyond limits. But the greatest tests are not only in strategy or courage. They are in wisdom, unity, and the ability to inspire others. The fleet you faced was only a warning. Greater dangers are coming, and the galaxy needs humans to step forward, not just to react, but to lead." Jason nodded. "We understand. And we will not fail. Humanity has a place here, and we will claim it." The ambassador's eyes softened, a rare gesture that conveyed genuine approval. "Good. Never forget why you were chosen. Your strength lies not only in action, but in your ability to see possibilities others cannot. Remember that, and you will survive and thrive." The humans left the room with renewed determination. They had been tested, guided, and trusted. The galaxy had begun to recognize them, not for fear, but for their capability. And while the threat of greater challenges loomed, humanity had discovered a truth they would carry forward. When given the chance, they could rise above expectation and shape the course of events with courage, creativity, and resolve. The stars beyond the station shone brightly, infinite and waiting. Humanity had stepped onto the stage of the galaxy, and the next act was theirs to perform. The neutral planet below the station glowed faintly, bathed in the light of distant stars. Within the diplomatic station, the atmosphere was electric. Humans had already proven themselves capable in the assembly, and during the first engagement with the unknown fleet. Yet now, the real challenge awaited. A decisive action to protect the galaxy from a threat that no other species had fully understood. Commander Jason Hart and his team gathered around a central holographic table. The ambassador stood silently behind them, her presence calm yet commanding. The fleet they had faced before was only the advance guard. The main force was approaching faster and larger than any one delegation could manage. The assembly relied on humans to lead, and all eyes were on them. Jason took a deep breath. "We need a plan that no one expects. Something bold but achievable. We have the advantage of perspective. We see patterns others do not." Lieutenant Mirachen leaned forward, pointing to a display. "If we coordinate multiple small attacks instead of one large engagement, we can force them to split their fleet. Their systems will be confused, and we can protect key sectors more effectively." Jason nodded. "Exactly. And we need to use their speed against them. They rely on coordination, predictable formations, and centralized communication. If we disrupt that, we gain the upper hand." The ambassador's eyes flicked toward the humans, approving silently. She had guided them to this moment, but now they were truly in control. The first step was intelligence. Humans deployed sensors to monitor the fleet's movements, identifying communication nodes and command vessels. These points were key to creating confusion. Meanwhile, humans coordinated with alien engineers, adapting their technology to work with human strategies. The combination of human innovation and alien machinery created something unprecedented, a hybrid defense system capable of responding in real time to the fleet's maneuvers. Jason addressed the assembly, projecting the plan across the hall. "We will not meet this threat head-on. We will guide them into areas we control, exploit their formation gaps, and isolate their key vessels. Every action is calculated to minimize risk while maximizing efficiency, but it will require trust and cooperation from all of you." Some alien delegations hesitated, their pride and fear battling their logic. The ambassador stepped forward. Her voice, calm and clear, carried weight across the room. Trust is earned through competence, not tradition. Humans have proven both. Follow their guidance and you will survive. Ignore it and opportunity will pass. Slowly, delegations agreed. Humans began coordinating the station's defenses, assigning sectors to different teams and establishing clear communication channels. Alien pilots, engineers, and strategists now worked alongside humans, sometimes reluctantly but increasingly with respect. The unknown fleet appeared on monitors, a vast and intimidating armada. Ships moved in tight formations, their weapons bristling. The station's alarm sounded, but humans stayed focused, treating the situation like a puzzle to be solved rather than a threat to panic over. Mira analyzed the fleet's formation. Their speed is impressive, but they rely on predictable communication. If we can intercept and redirect their signals, we can force gaps in their formation. That's where our drones and decoys come in. Jason nodded. Implement the interception plan. Divide the fleet mentally into sections. Focus on their command nodes first, then use misdirection to isolate the others. The humans worked in perfect coordination. Every move was precise, every instruction clear. Alien teams followed human guidance, some skeptically at first, but gradually trusting the plan as it unfolded. When the first wave of the enemy entered the predicted gaps, humans initiated maneuvers that no other species had considered. Decoy ships drew fire, energy fields redirected attacks, and drones disrupted communications. Each action was small on its own, but together they created a web of confusion that the fleet could not anticipate. The aliens observed in awe as the humans executed the plan flawlessly. Where seasoned alien commanders would have followed rigid protocol, humans adapted in real time. When an unexpected movement appeared, they calculated a response instantly, turning potential chaos into advantage. The ambassador stood silently behind Jason, her expression calm but proud. This was the culmination of her guidance and the humans' ingenuity. She had given them the opportunity, and now they were proving their true potential. Hours passed. The fleet struggled to maintain formation, its ships isolated and vulnerable. Humans coordinated strikes against critical nodes, disabling weapons and communication links. Alien pilots, following human strategy, executed maneuvers they had never attempted before. The result was stunning. The enemy fleet was fragmented, disorganized, and retreating in confusion. Jason allowed himself a small smile. "It's working," he said quietly. "We're turning the tide." Mira adjusted the controls on a holographic interface. They didn't expect humans to see the gaps. They didn't anticipate our coordination. We're making them fight on our terms. The assembly watched in silence as humans orchestrated the defense. Respect replaced skepticism. Aliens who had doubted humanity now acknowledged that humans were capable of leadership and innovation on a galactic scale. As the final phase of the plan unfolded, humans guided alien forces in a coordinated retreat for the fleet, directing them into safe corridors while preventing further attacks. By evening, the unknown armada had withdrawn entirely, damaged and demoralized. The station remained intact, systems operational, and countless lives had been saved. The ambassador finally spoke to the assembly. Her voice was calm but carried undeniable authority. Observe what humans can achieve when trusted with responsibility. Observe their courage, insight, and adaptability. Underestimate them no longer. They are a force that shapes outcomes, not merely reacts to them. The aliens fell silent, absorbing her words. Many nodded, some with newfound respect, others reluctantly. The truth was clear. Humans had not only saved the station, but had demonstrated qualities the galaxy had long underestimated. Jason looked at his team. They were exhausted but exhilarated. "We've done it," he said quietly. "We've proven ourselves," Mira smiled. "And we couldn't have done it without her." She nodded toward the ambassador, who stood with an expression of calm satisfaction. Her faith in humanity had unlocked something extraordinary. The ambassador stepped forward, addressing the humans privately. "You have demonstrated what I knew from the beginning. Humanity sees possibilities others ignore. You have courage, creativity, and leadership. The galaxy is not used to your kind. That is your strength," Jason nodded. "We understand. And we will continue to prove it. Humanity has a role here, and we intend to fulfill it." The ambassador's eyes softened. Good, never forget why you were chosen. When others follow tradition, you follow vision. When others hesitate, you act. That is the path to survival and influence. As the station quieted, humans gathered on the observation deck, looking out at the retreating enemy fleet. The stars shimmered endlessly, a vast canvas of opportunity. They had entered this galaxy as observers, underestimated and underestimated again. Now they had claimed a place as innovators, leaders, and defenders. Jason turned to Mira and the team. This is only the beginning. Greater challenges are coming, but today we have shown the galaxy what humanity can do. Mira nodded, her eyes reflecting both fatigue and pride. Yes, we've stepped forward and we will continue to rise. Nothing can stop us if we work together and trust our instincts. The ambassador, silent now, watched them. Her mission was not only to guide humanity, but to ensure they recognized their own potential. She had done that and the results were undeniable. Humans had transformed from underestimated newcomers to central figures capable of shaping the future. As the station's lights reflected off the distant stars, the human delegation realized something profound. They were no longer just participants in the galaxy's affairs. They were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders. They had claimed their place and they were ready for whatever came next. Jason whispered to his team, "We've earned this chance. Now it's time to see how far we can go." And the ambassador, quietly smiling, knew that humanity had not only survived, but had begun a journey that would change the galaxy forever. The stars beyond the diplomatic station shone brighter than ever, casting reflections on the smooth metal surfaces of the observation deck. Humanity had survived challenges that once seemed impossible. They had proven themselves in negotiation, strategy, and courage. Now the galaxy was beginning to recognize their presence, not as a minor species, but as a force to be respected. Commander Jason Hart stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking down at the neutral planet below. Its oceans glimmered and its continents stretched endlessly, a reminder of home. Behind him, the human delegation gathered, each member exhausted but proud. The ambassador had left earlier, quietly stepping back to allow humanity to claim its place. Her words still echoed in their minds. Never forget why you were chosen. When others hesitate, you act. That is the path to influence. The assembly hall, once a place of doubt and scrutiny, had transformed into a center of recognition. Alien delegates approached humans not with suspicion or disdain, but with curiosity and respect. Some sought advice. Others offered partnerships. Every interaction reminded the humans that their achievements were being noticed on a scale far larger than they had imagined. Jason turned to Mira Chen, his trusted lieutenant. "Look at them," he said quietly. "They're seeing us as equals. Maybe even leaders," Mira nodded. "It's been a long journey, but it's just the beginning. The galaxy will not forget what we've done here." The ambassador's earlier guidance had been crucial, but the humans had executed every step themselves. From analyzing the unknown fleet to coordinating the assembly's defenses, they had relied on their creativity, courage, and unity. For the first time, humanity realized that these qualities were not weaknesses, as some alien races had assumed, but strengths that could shape the galaxy. Outside, reports began arriving from other sectors. Systems that had been threatened were now secure. The unknown fleet had been scattered and forced to retreat. Alien colonies, once terrified of attack, were beginning to recover. And in each message, humans' contribution was highlighted. Their strategies had saved lives and preserved stability. Jason addressed the human delegation in the conference room. "We've earned recognition, yes, but we also have a responsibility. The galaxy is vast and threats will continue to emerge. We must remain vigilant, continue to innovate, and ensure that humanity's reputation as capable leaders grows stronger." Mira leaned over the holographic table. "We've proven that humans can act decisively and think creatively. Now it's about maintaining that presence. We need to show consistency, not just brilliance in one moment." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of alien ambassadors. They approached cautiously at first, then more confidently. One by one, they addressed the humans with words of respect. Some offered cooperation. Others suggested formal alliances. The shift was remarkable. A species once underestimated was now central to interstellar affairs. Jason listened, absorbing every word. The galaxy had tested humans, and they had not only survived, they had thrived. Each alien delegate represented a voice of recognition, a confirmation that humanity's presence was now acknowledged as meaningful. Later, the ambassador returned, her arrival quiet but commanding. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she observed the humans interacting with the assembly, witnessing their leadership, diplomacy, and courage. When she finally addressed them, her voice was calm but carried authority. "You have proven yourselves capable of seeing possibilities others ignore. You have shown courage in the face of fear, clarity where others see confusion, and leadership where others hesitate. The galaxy recognizes you now. But remember, recognition alone is not enough. Influence must be maintained through wisdom, patience, and action." Jason bowed slightly, gratitude in his eyes. "We understand. Humanity has learned much, and we will continue to prove ourselves worthy of this trust." The ambassador nodded and stepped back. Her mission had been accomplished. She had guided humans to realize their potential, allowed them to act, and now she could leave them to claim their role in the galaxy. As the humans returned to the observation deck, a quiet sense of accomplishment settled over them. The unknown fleet had retreated, the assembly had been guided successfully, and the galaxy, for the first time, had recognized humanity's worth. Mira spoke softly, almost to herself. "We've changed how they see us, not just as a species, but as a force that matters." Jason placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. Humanity will continue to grow, to lead, and to shape the galaxy. We've taken our first steps, but the journey ahead is vast." Even as they spoke, the station's monitors showed distant fleets, new diplomatic envoys, and systems beginning to rebuild. Humanity's presence was becoming a thread woven into the fabric of the galaxy. They were no longer observers. They were innovators, leaders, and protectors. The ambassador's words returned to Jason's mind. "When others hesitate, you act. That is the path to influence." He realized that these words were not only a reflection of their past achievements, but a guide for the future. The galaxy would continue to challenge humanity, but now humans were prepared to meet those challenges on their terms. Later that evening, the human delegation gathered privately. They reflected on their journey, the assembly, the unknown fleet, the guidance of the ambassador, and the moments where their courage and creativity had made the difference. Each human understood that they had proven something greater than skill. They had proven that humanity could rise when given the chance. Jason addressed them all. "We've earned respect, yes, but respect is not permanent. Influence is not given. It's maintained through action, wisdom, and collaboration. The galaxy now watches us. Our next steps will define our place for generations." Mira nodded. "We will continue to rise together. This is humanity's moment, and we will not waste it." As the stars twinkled outside, the humans gazed at the endless expanse. Their achievements had been remarkable, but the universe was vast, full of challenges, opportunities, and possibilities. For the first time, humans understood the true potential of their species. Creativity, courage, and unity could overcome any obstacle, inspire respect, and change the course of history. The ambassador returned one final time to the observation deck. She stood silently behind the humans, watching them study the stars. Jason turned, and their eyes met. For a brief moment, no words were needed. The ambassador's expression conveyed pride, approval, and quiet satisfaction. Humanity had embraced the chance she had offered, and they had not faltered. "You have done well," she said finally, her voice soft but certain. "The galaxy sees you now, not as newcomers, but as a species capable of shaping events. Remember this moment. Remember your strength. And always act when opportunity arises." Jason bowed slightly. "We will not forget. Humanity will continue to rise, and we will honor the trust you have placed in us." The ambassador nodded, her presence fading into the background as she allowed humanity to step fully into the center of the galaxy's attention. For the first time, humans were not merely participants. They were recognized as leaders, innovators, and protectors. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with infinite possibilities. Humanity had proven that courage, creativity, and determination could overcome doubt and fear. They had shown the galaxy that they could rise above expectation, face challenges with intelligence and bravery, and earn their place among the stars. Jason turned to his team. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy has acknowledged us, but now it is our responsibility to lead, to protect, and to inspire. We will not falter, Mira smiled, and we will continue together. Humanity has taken its place. Nothing can stop us now. The observation deck was quiet except for the hum of the station systems and the distant twinkle of stars. Humanity had stepped into a new era. They had faced challenges, earned recognition, and begun to shape the galaxy on their own terms. The journey ahead was vast, but for the first time they were fully prepared to meet it. The ambassador, standing silently behind them, finally left the observation deck, her mission complete. Humanity had claimed its place in the galaxy, not by force, but by courage, creativity, and determination. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the humans knew that the future was theirs to shape. For the first time in galactic history, humanity was no longer underestimated. They had earned their place. They had proven their worth, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again.